Hey, y'all, we are live right now at halftime of Georgia's game against Auburn in Athens, Georgia. My name is Wes Blankenship. This is Dogs HQ. I invite you to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel if you're catching this on a replay, or if you're catching it live. Leave us a comment, engage, interact. I'm going to take a moment to set up our other stream on Twitter, our Twitter Spaces, which allows people to speak like a traditional radio call-in show. So if you want to do that, then head on over to Dogs HQ on Twitter. I'm going to get that fired up. Hey, y'all, Wes Blankenship here on our Twitter Spaces on Dogs HQ as Georgia and Auburn head to halftime. Going to invite a couple people to engage, interact with us as Georgia heads to the half with a 14-0 lead over Auburn. The number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs up 14-0, getting it done on the ground. Georgia not really finding much success through the air today, whether it's a downfield attack. Georgia really doesn't have much of a threat, or trying to keep it close with some shorter plays. The Dogs looking somewhat predictable when it comes to running their offense right now. Starting to wonder where this 49-3 team was that played against Oregon. What happened? What's the difference? Well, today the difference is Stetson Bennett. Stetson is off the mark for sure. Just missed a pretty easy touchdown throw to Brock Bowers. That could have been something. And even though Georgia getting it done right now, there's still a lot left on the board, a lot left off the board, I should say. Case Malarin, welcome in, Case. Really appreciate you commenting. The run game working, slip screens haven't. Surprised the shot plays haven't been out of play action, generally out of rhythm. I agree. I don't know what the deal is with Stetson Bennett, and I don't think you can escape the criticism right now if you're Stetson Bennett. Some of these past plays have been off the mark. They've been off the money. It is what it is. Georgia is what it is right now. It's a good defensive team. They've held Auburn off the scoreboard, obviously. Auburn with some self-induced mistakes. Quarterback dropped it there. Robbie Ashford on a scramble. No one even touched him, but he dropped the ball. So Auburn, first road game. How about that? How does Auburn make it 6 games into the season before they play their first road game? That's some scheduling wizardry from the Auburn athletic administration. But the Dogs still getting it done right now. About to head to the halftime break here, and Brian Harson's job could be on the line. We'll see what happens with that if Georgia continues to run with the dominating fashion that they've done in the first half. Other than that, though, Georgia not too sharp. Let's see. Offensively, Stetson Bennett, 7 of 13 for just 25 yards, an average of 1.9 yards per completion. That's not going to get it done against teams who aren't about to fire their head coach. You looked at Tennessee today going into Death Valley and dominating LSU. Is LSU overrated? Probably so. But you got to be able to put up points. You got to be able to compete in some of these games that could end up being track meets. And Georgia's defense looks phenomenal once again, even though they've replaced so much of that talent. Once you get through this game, you're 6 games into the season. It's time to stop talking about how much talent you've replaced on defense. It's time to start talking about the team that is constituted right now. And the way it looks when I watch Georgia's defense, they're still pretty dang good. But Georgia's offense is the one that obviously everyone has a lot of questions about. Even with 14-0 lead, one of those touchdowns set up by a long Lad McConkey punt return, which was great to see, to get his confidence back. The other one, a better drive, or no, one of them was set up with Auburn's fake punt attempt. So Georgia benefiting from some Auburn special teams play that's less than good, I could say. But other than that, Georgia's offensive game plan when it comes to passing the football, some of these screens, some of these plays that are close to the line of scrimmage, Auburn's eating them up. And Auburn played pretty good defensively against LSU, and and they've shown glimpses of being good, but this isn't a good football team. I mean, they're 3-2. They found a way to win, or Mizzou found a way to lose. They could have been on the losing end 3 straight weeks. So I think there's still a lot to clean up for Georgia. Even just half of football into this game, Georgia should be up by more than 14 points. And against a team of Auburn's caliber, which isn't great, you want to think that if Georgia's really the number 2 team in the country, they'd be dominating a little bit more than this. You go from saying that Kent State was the wake-up call for Georgia. Then you see the Mizzou struggles, and you say maybe Mizzou's a wake-up call for Georgia. I think we're just seeing right now that Georgia just is what it is. Darnell Washington had a penalty called on him as Georgia was knocking on the door of the red zone. Red zone troubles haunting Georgia all season long. Other than that Oregon game, really had some success against South Carolina too. But that's the name of the game for Georgia on offense. You can't really do much in the red zone. So there's a penalty called on the Big O, and Jack Podlesny misses a field goal. So you leave 3 points off the board for sure. Maybe you have another touchdown right there. I mean, it's just little things like that Georgia is struggling to be consistent with. We invite you to hit subscribe on Dogs HQ's YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Hit follow on Twitter if you're tuning into our Twitter space. Twitter space is an opportunity for you to speak up like a traditional call-in radio show. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can just leave us a comment, and if it's good enough, I will read it on the air. Georgia heading to the halftime break, up 14-0. About to get Palmer Toms and Jake Rowan here. They are live at the game in Athens, and they're going to let the time run out here before they hop on. But thank you for joining us. Want to hear some of your thoughts. A lot of frustration from the Georgia fans watching Stetson Bennett throw the ball today, and I get it. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what he's going through, if it's something mental, something physical, but he certainly doesn't look sharp. He's missed the wide open touchdown to Brock Bowers right there before the end of the half. And it looks like they're going to have another opportunity to go into halftime up 14-0 and still not playing up to what you want to think is the standard of Georgia football. But other than that, Robbie Ashford in his first SEC road game start, having some of those jitters, that certainly works to Georgia's advantage. I don't know how loud it is in Sanford Stadium. It sounded pretty loud to start the game in Auburn's first possession. But other than that, I don't know that the offense has given Georgia much of a reason to celebrate. Two guys that have, the running backs Dejean Edwards and Branson Robinson, the freshman, as Kendall Milton is out for the game with a groin injury. Kenny McIntosh came into this one a little banged up. He's been banged up throughout the season. But Georgia's still finding a way with its running backs to make something out of this offensive attack when the passing game really doesn't have much at all. And if you're a Georgia fan, that is, I think, the biggest takeaway from this first half. The most positive thing is Georgia's running game. Would you like to be more healthy back there? Yeah, Andrew Paul had an injury before the season even started. Now Kendall Milton continues to battle his injuries. You go into this Vanderbilt game, you go into the bye week before the Florida game. You want to try to get as healthy as you can, but Georgia's running backs have really been snake bit this season when it comes to staying healthy there. Georgia up 14-0 now as number 2 Dogs are really not looking like the number 2 team in the country. But Georgia's finding incremental success in a way that they didn't at Missouri. And you'd like to think that they would at home against Auburn. This Auburn team not very good, coming in 3-2, really could be 2-3 if Missouri didn't find a way to lose. But let's look at what is working for Georgia right now. The rushing game. Dejean Edwards, 6 carries for 46 yards, averaging 7.7 yards per carry. He had a big 28-yard run there, and he also scored one of Georgia's 2 touchdowns. And Kenny McIntosh also has 6 carries. He has 27 yards, averaging just under 5 yards per carry with 1 touchdown as well. Georgia's leading receiver, Ladd McConkey, 2 catches for 11 yards. Jake Rowe joining us now on our YouTube live stream. Jake, Georgia up 14-0. We can focus in on how much Stetson Bennett is struggling in the passing game, but to me, the big takeaway for the Dogs is the success on the ground. What's the big storyline for you with Georgia up 14-0 over Auburn right now?
It's been Stetson's struggles, and there wasn't a ton of opportunities for him to struggle before that 3 and out when Georgia tried to work 2-minute drill. But he missed a wide open receiver. I thought the pass to Kenny McIntosh was actually a pretty good ball to give Kenny a chance, and just a tough catch, tough coverage there. But obviously Georgia's got to play better in those situations. This game should be 21-0. You could say probably without Darnell Washington's issue down there where he had the 15-yard penalty, maybe a 24-0 game. But it seems like we're saying that every game now, that Georgia's just leaving points on the field. And good teams don't do that. Great teams don't do that. Good teams do it sometimes. And Georgia's got a good team, but I can sense the frustrations of the fans for playing like this again, and I can agree with them because they're just not playing well, and this team's got a little bit of a funk or a disinterest or whatever it is. They're back into it. But I will say this, Wes, offensive line caught a lot of flack after the Missouri game. Offensive line has played much better in this game.
Yeah, Palmer Tom's joining us now. And if you're listening on the Twitter space, we invite you to actually listen to our audio on Dogs HQ's YouTube channel. Hit subscribe over there as Jake Rowe and Palmer Tom's join us live from Athens as Georgia's up 14-0. Palmer, Jake was just speaking about Stetson Bennett's struggles, but the offensive line playing much better today, and that's a great piece of news if you're a Georgia fan. For me, I'm impressed with how well Georgia's defense has played in some situations where Auburn started to get a little bit of momentum. Robbie Ashford helped him out by putting the ball on the turf unforced. But Georgia's defense continues to look really good just 5.5 games into the season right now. Other than that, Georgia's running game is.
Palmer says he can't hear you, Wes, just so you know.
Palmer can't hear me?
We got some bugs.
Okay, we got bugs in the machine here. Malik Savage says Stetson Bennett killing me, missing wide open throws. Jake, is there something wrong with him? Is there something physically wrong with him?
He didn't look right in pregame, I'll say that. He was doing some stuff where he was just kind of holding his arm back there and kind of watching it like he was trying to get it loosened up. He was out there earlier than normal. So I think he may be battling something, But then again, he comes out there and it's not like, the ball was off the mark, but it wasn't like that was a weak, ugly-looking pass he threw to Brock Bowers. It was just way off the mark. And, he missed an open throw. And he had Bowers for another one that he just missed. Bowers got a hand on it but couldn't quite catch it. He hasn't been good. That's just all there is to it. And if you want to play great offensively, your quarterback's got to play well, and the quarterback for Georgia has not played well today.
Alexander Pierre requesting to speak now in our Twitter space. We'll get that audio on. But as much as Stetson's struggling, the running game is stepping up. As Tomahawk Dog asked, is Kendall out hurt? Yes, Kendall Milton out with a groin injury. How impressed are you with Dejean Edwards and Branson Robinson? We've been hearing for a little while now that Branson Robinson's gaining some confidence, gaining some momentum. This first half surprised me a little bit, Jake. He really took advantage of some of those early opportunities.
Yeah, 2 carries, I think, for 32 yards in the game. He looked really patient on that 9-yard run, his first carry of the game, and then, picked up, bit off 23 yards there. The run games look really good. It doesn't matter really who's been carrying the football. Georgia's done a really good job, and Dejean Edwards, I don't think he's going to get a ton of credit for it, or not a lot of people are going to notice it. The 1 yard touchdown run, that dude made a guy miss in the backfield, a guy that kind of just sold out to get back there, and he made that guy miss to get in the end zone, which was a big play in this game so far.
No matter what we say, everyone wants to talk about Stetson, which I get. Case Malarian, Stet hasn't really been given a chance to get into a rhythm. The only time he pushed the ball downfield was the last drive. Not many timing routes over the middle, mesh concepts, and all that stuff. Jake, do you think that Todd Monken's offense, with some of these plays being run so close to the line of scrimmage, some of the screens, some of these plays, toss sweeps, does it almost seem predictable to you what Monken's trying to run out there?
Well, it certainly does whenever you see Auburn just flying up at these screen passes. I mean, Marcus Rosenby, Jack Saint kind of got beat on a block, but that guy was coming all the whole way. You saw Georgia's second play from scrimmage. They tried to throw to Brock Bowers on a little screen pass, and that got almost blown up. I mean, that was chaos. There have been several instances, at least a few instances in this first half where Auburn has been flying up against the screen game. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it is a little bit predictable. And, I hesitate to put a ton on Todd Monken just because I don't know. I don't really know kind of what's being called, what's being checked, because Auburn's shown him a lot of too high safety looks, and I think sometimes you're going to get into a rhythm there in a run game where if they have two guys deep, you're going to run the football, and Georgia's running successfully against those looks. But at the same time, I think the screen game, Georgia's got to try to find something to come off of that because Auburn's all over it.
True. You mentioned that Robbie Ashford coming in was a concern for Georgia with the linebacker depth being an issue right now. Smile Munden and his injury concerns, and Jalen Carter being out of the game. But what's Georgia doing defensively other than Robbie Ashford fumbling the ball? What's Georgia doing defensively in your eyes that's working well?
Well, they are getting a pass rush, and they're doing a good job of maintaining the edges. When Ashford's getting out, he's getting out between the tackles, and so they're not really allowing him to kind of extend plays toward the sideline and scramble drill and things like that. I mean, when Auburn has gone play action and tried to bootleg him, Robert Beal, Nolan Smith have been right there. And the inside linebackers have done a really good job. I think Ryan Davis has stepped in a big way. Jamon Dumas-Johnson's made some really nice plays. Georgia's also just taken away that first read for him consistently, making him hold the football, making him throw it away. I mean, he is Robbie Ashford's thrown the ball 23 times in the first half. He's barely got a 33% completion percentage. Georgia, he's 8 of 23. So Georgia's done a good job in that regard. One of those completions was a tip ball that probably should have been completed anyway. But Georgia's done a good job defensively. They're fortunate that we put it on the ground for them.
I want to invite Palmer to talk now if he can hear me. Palmer, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Wes.
I want to hear from you, Palmer. What did Georgia need to do off of the Missouri game going into this game, in your opinion, and how has Georgia responded to some of those areas of concern that you had coming in?
Yeah, a week ago when we were having this conversation, I was pretty hard on the offensive line, post-game hard on the offensive line. And this week throughout the lead up to this, I've been hard on the offensive line. I've been very impressed with how they've played. You can tell that they are passionate about the way that they get after this. They're finishing runs. They're getting in there, pushing guys extra yardage. And the running backs have responded pretty well, especially losing a leader in that room in Kendall Milton.
Jake, Palmer, up for grabs for y'all before I let y'all get back to work here. What is the number one thing that you want to see out of Georgia in the second half if you think that they can truly dominate Auburn like Vegas thought that they should?
Yeah, to me, I think I want to see a little bit more accuracy out of the passing game. Stetson Bennett's been a little bit off. The overthrow of Brock Bowers there at the end of the half stands out. Defense has played very well. Feels like they're getting off the field quickly, majority of the time. But I feel like if Georgia's run game has been strong so far, they've been, they're running for an average of 7.4 yards per carry, so they've been consistent. Just want to see an all-around performance for Georgia, something that Wes, I heard you saying that you didn't feel like Georgia was looking like the number 2 team in the country. I think if you put it all together, defense is playing well, run game has been pretty consistent. If they can get the passing game going, it'll look a little bit more like the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, that's my thing. I want to see him come out and look like the number 2 team in the country. I want to see him come out and put together a legit drive, not a drive that, and something we haven't mentioned. Special teams set them up for a couple of really short touchdown drives. Come out, put together a 75-yard drive or a 70-yard drive, 80-yard drive, whatever it takes. And I don't even care if it's, if the passing game fuels it. Just look like a legit offense. I think that's what Georgia needs. They can use the second half to build some momentum. I could always be wrong here. It won't be the first time. I don't think Auburn's going to threaten them much offensively. I just think it's a bad matchup for Robbie Ashford. Georgia's secondary is probably just a little bit too good to allow him to keep completing passes in the run game as hasn't just been there other than Ashford scrambling it. So I think Georgia has to come out and look like a legit offense here in the second half and maybe get some momentum going because it's lost all momentum as a total offense.
Yeah, I think that would relieve a lot of people watching at home if they could do that, guys. I'll let y'all get back to it. Get your halftime hot dog and Coke, and we'll talk to you after the game. Thanks again to Jake and Palmer for that. Please hit subscribe if you're tuning in live. If you're watching on a replay, thank you for doing so. And if you're listening on our Twitter space, if you couldn't hear us, it's because all of our conversation happens over on YouTube. We treat the Twitter space like a call-in live chat hotline. So tune in there. Find us on Dogs HQ on YouTube. Hit subscribe there. It helps a ton. And we will also be live right after this game ends. I'll speak with Jake Rowe as well to get our ultimate thoughts on how Georgia did in this one. First half, offense getting the ground game going. Maybe Stetson Bennett can lock it in the second half, or if not, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about as well after this one is over. But for now, Georgia up 14-0. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you again soon.